Welcome to Insight and Influence, a podcast presented by C&G Strategies, bringing you insightful conversations from influential people, including government officials, industry leaders, and advocates from across the state.
Today we have Danielle Ramaley, who's the Chief Commercial Officer with Watt Fuel Cell. Welcome, Danielle.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Great. Danielle, can you give us a little bit about Watt Fuel Cell?
Yeah, absolutely. So Watt is a Westmoreland County, just outside of Pittsburgh-based organization. And what we do is we manufacture small-scale solid oxide fuel cells. So what is that? Well,
great question.
Great question.
Glad you asked.
Yeah. So fuel cell essentially, think about it like a battery, but rather than just storing energy, it produces energy. So we use either natural gas or propane as our fuel source. And rather than combusting the fuel like typical generation sources, we actually chemically convert it to energy. So you avoid all of the NOx, SOx, particulate emissions that you would generate with typical generation sources, and you are ending up with a cleaner energy in your home.
That's, okay, so you said in your home. So is your product primarily for residential purposes, or is it for businesses, or what's yeah?
Yeah, sure. So we actually have three product lines. We have our Watt Home System, which is focused on residential energy, distributed energy is essentially what it is. Our Watt Remote System, which is just like it sounds, for remote power applications. So we support anything from infrastructure like remote railway stations, remote oil and gas wellheads. We have a variety of customers in that market. And then our Watt Nomad is focused on RVs. So we actually provide power to adventurers on the road whenever they are out in nature wanting to enjoy it without the sound of a generator consistently running.
So I've had several incidents where the power's gone out in our house. And I've always said to myself, God, I need to buy a generator. Would this replace that generator?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So I actually have a Watt Home System in my home, and it provides us with backup power. So essentially what the system does is it can work with solar if you have it, or incorporate a battery. And we can work as a hybrid power system. So that means when you've got solar available, you use the solar, charge your battery. When you don't have solar available, the fuel cell intelligently knows how to turn on and when to turn on. So you've got always available, consistent power for your home.
So, and is this, you mentioned before, it's safe, right? It's safe for home use. It's safe for folks like me who are complete idiots when it comes to the technology behind energy.
Yeah.
And I could make it work in my house and not have to be a part of the
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So it's a passive system. Essentially, it works intelligently, and we are the only fuel cell available, I believe, on the market that is UL certified. So we are kind of a first of a kind technology, really available for home use. Where our technology is different is we are a team of fuel cell experts.
Okay.
So we are the innovators behind the technology itself. Other fuel cells that might be available on the market are importing fuel cells. We are manufacturing our fuel cells right there in Westmoreland County.
Oh, in Westmoreland County.
Yeah, which is pretty great. So traditionally, the type of fuel cells we make are tubular. So think about them like a piece of rigatoni. So typically, you are making a fuel cell that way, like a piece of pasta. You're making a paste, you're extruding it out, you're cutting it up, you're putting on multiple layers and going through a sintering process, or essentially a baking process. That takes about 200 hours. So the innovation around Watt is around 3D printing. So we actually 3D print our fuel cells, fully automated. We've got robotics to help us through the process, and we can take about a 200-hour process down to 4 minutes. So fuel cell technology has been around for a long time, but the innovation that's happening at Watt makes it economical and viable at scale.
Well, and I know you guys have been in Pittsburgh or Western PA for 20 years?
Since 2014, we moved to Pittsburgh. The company was founded in Long Island, and we acquired PEEI, Pittsburgh Electrical Engine, in 2014, and have been there ever since.
How many employees do you have?
Right around 50 right now, and we're looking for a major growth cycle. So we've got some key contracts coming up, and we're really focused on growth for our organization.
How has the environment here in Pennsylvania been for you folks to be able to grow? Do you have, what you need. Both,
absolutely.
Okay.
So from when you look at what's available in the region, right, we've got an abundance of the fuel we use, clean natural gas, right? And it's really been key to some of our relationships within the region locally. Peoples has been supportive of our technology and has recently deployed new systems within their network and are branching out into a new pilot that'll be starting soon. And some of our investors are from the region. EQT is actually one of our largest investors and has been instrumental in our growth. So having key partners within region has been really beneficial to the organization.
What about the government? Since CNG is a communications and government relations firm, how does the government, the Pennsylvania, have you been able to adapt? I mean, are they supportive?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had good government relations in support of our growth in the Westmoreland County region. It's been instrumental in keeping us there in our facility and enabling us to essentially grow the organization where we're at. There's a lot of opportunity when you look at what a key role Watt can play in energy infrastructure. So being involved with the government, both locally and nationally, is critical for us. We, like I said, use clean fuel that's available here locally within our region, and we are a manufacturer and employer of everyone from technicians to engineering. So being a part of fueling our growth going forward is key for the region, local government, and state government as well.
So you mentioned earlier you're a team of engineers. So I got to imagine as you guys grow, finding and recruiting talent is going to be probably a challenge. It's a challenge for everyone in Western Pennsylvania these days. Where do you find your team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now we use quite a bit of recruiting, but we're also beginning to work with more local programs. We are part of the U.S. Navy's, actually the FLAG program that they're deploying here in the Pittsburgh region. They call it the Talent Pipeline program. Yeah, TPP, the Talent Pipeline Program. The Navy is focused on bringing in qualified manufacturers essentially across the regions. We are part of the Pittsburgh FLAG, so that's been incremental in helping us improve our recruiting and our retention focus. So really focusing on those qualified and skilled laborers from the technician level to the engineering level is critical for us to be able to fuel our growth.
I don't know if you have a magic wand. What do you guys need? Would that be helpful?
Sure. I mean, Watt currently is focused on our next investment round, so we're looking for investment to grow. And being recognized as a key part of energy infrastructure is going to be critical for us, right? When you think about what Watt can do, we can either be a backup power source or an always-on power source. When you look at the challenges that are facing us across electricity generation in the grid today, bringing on new and different technologies like this provides both utilities and infrastructure an opportunity to grow in areas where you've got congestion today. So you think about all the data centers or the large power demands that are coming online. Sure, you can localize generation aligned with that data center, or you can look at a very complex transmission and distribution build out. But you can also locally site fuel cells in homes to essentially take those homes off the grid. So bringing in new technologies like ours, whether it's through government incentives, whether it's through programs that are really incentivizing these types of technologies to be adopted, can be critical to our adoption and how we can fit into an energy infrastructure that's got to grow and change in our country.
Danielle, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Our next guest is Senator Kim Ward. Would you mind sticking around for that?
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure. Absolutely.
Welcome back to CNG Strategies Podcast. We have the fortunate honor of being blessed with Senator Kim Ward. Welcome, Senator.
Well, hello. It's really nice to be here. What a great view you have.
Isn't it? Well, we all wish we could have this view of downtown
nice.
Pittsburgh. I love it. I love working downtown, despite what everybody else says. It's still a great place to work. So, Senator, I got to ask you before we start this. So you are the president pro temp of the Senate.
Yes.
Can you just tell everyone what the hell does that mean? Because you have the lieutenant governor who is also partially responsible for the Senate, but yet you're really the one in charge.
So my job is the administration of the Senate on both sides of the aisle. Employees,
Everybody.
The Senate staff, the security, the seating, the parking, the administration of the staff, and to try to, make sure that we get along as well as we can. And the lieutenant governor, his job is to run session.
Okay.
But I do it too.
And you said your job is to get along. I mean, I have to say, I've known you and Senator Costa for some time, and the two of you get along so well. I think that is such a testament to you and the type of person you are.
Well, I think it's a testament to the western part of Pennsylvania. Senator Costa is a great guy.
Yeah.
And I say, and I probably shouldn't say it on your podcast, but I'm going to because I say whatever I want. But
yes, you do.
I think that, you have the House of Representatives, right? They're controlled by Democrats. And I keep saying over and over again, if we would have Democrats from the West in control of that House of Representatives, it would be a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
So that's what I wish for.
Yeah.
If the Democrats are going to hold the House, that they have a Democrat from here, from on this side.
We're awesome here in Western PA. And actually, you know what? I'm just going to start right there. Speaking of being so awesome in Western PA, we have Danielle from Watt Fuel Cell here. And we just talked a little bit about Watt, and they're a phenomenal Western PA company. And so, Danielle, here is the Senate leader. Here's your opportunity. Do you have a question that you'd like to ask the senator?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, it's okay.
Maybe as it relates to energy.
So that is in the district I serve.
You'd think we knew what we were doing when we
right.
put together this
they
podcast.
They came in really small at first, but
I know.
things are changing. Things have changed a lot
growing.
for them.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me and including me in the conversation. I mean, I think Watt being a part of your district has really gotten to engage with you and see your impact in the region, and we're proud to be from your region. And how do you see energy changing in this country and in this state right now? And how do you see really Pennsylvania playing a role in that?
Well, let me just start with saying I'm glad that Watt is here. It's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal company, and we should all be happy that we are able to help in some way expand that.
Thank you.
So energy is one of the biggest divisive issues presently in Harrisburg, and probably nationally, I don't know, because you had, the Green New Deal, you had all of those being pushed. And now President Trump has come in and he's like, yeah, I love coal. Well, of course, I love coal. I was raised in a coal town. But so it's just a constant fossil fuel versus every other energy source. And I do believe that we can use them all. I mean, we can absolutely use them all. I just said to somebody yesterday, when I'm ready for a new roof, it's going solar. I'm doing those things that take time, but we can't do everything at once because of the job issue, right? So our grid also in Pennsylvania is at risk. I think we only have about 5% of it alternative fuels at this time, and it's very scary. You have these other states like Maryland and Virginia and New Jersey. We in Pennsylvania are paying about $165 million to make sure they have enough energy to supply their population because they choose not to use any of the other fossil fuel or a low percent of it. So energy is it's a very, very talked about issue. It will be still probably one of these big issues. I mean, the governor with that Regional Green Gas House Initiative, right? He went to court to try to keep it in place, but now they're going to make their decision, I think, May 9th.
Yeah.
That has definitely affected people's pocketbooks at home when they go to pay their electric bills. So I think energy is one of the most important things that we can focus on, but it's also one of the toughest.
Speaking of tough issues, can we talk about the budget for a second, considering it's sort of getting into that season? I've been hearing that this might just be a bare bones, simple budget, get it done by the deadline, June 30th, and come back in the fall. What are your thoughts?
I haven't heard that at all. No.
Well,
I mean, it might be. I'm not saying that won't happen. But, the governor came in with over $4 billion additional from last year. That is not going to happen.
Right.
And it was based on, part of it on marijuana, recreational marijuana. I'm not saying that never happens, but it's not happening right now, this year. And skill games, which might happen in the next couple of months. I mean, it seems like we're starting to work together on that issue. So it won't be that. But, when you look at the cost to carry, because of Medicaid, it's over 6% this year. That is going to eat over $1 billion. That is going to eat up so much money that we need for, and needs and wants, other areas. So I'm not going to make any predictions at this point, but we'll see.
No, I think that's fair. Speaking of the governor, what are your thoughts? Like, what happened the other day in the governor's mansion in the attack?
There was a man with mental health issues, and he really didn't like the governor. But it doesn't mean you should go try to kill the governor. Right. I mean, that was horrible for the governor's family. I'm sure they're going to be traumatized, right? Especially the kids. They're going to be traumatized. Somebody went in there and tried to hurt them. Uncalled for, senseless, planned. And I don't know that we know a lot about this guy's background yet. They said it at first. There's no. It wasn't like a political activist. It wasn't. Because the governor was Jewish, but we don't know because that just happened days ago. We don't really know yet. It'll take a week or two to settle this and to get to the bottom of it. But it's very, very, very scary, and I'm sorry that happened to him and his family.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. We're crazy times for sure, but we're getting through it because we got people like you leading us through it. So, thank you.
But when you look at that attack, there's so little daylight between those type of acts and political, extreme political activism. There's so little daylight, and it's scary. It's a scary time. Some group was giving me a bunch of bull. You haven't had a town hall meeting, not a live one. I mean, I've done them on the phone, but I don't. Yeah.
Right.
Everybody's a target nowadays.
Yeah. I don't think people appreciate what you guys go through day in and day out. So, so thank you. Speaking of big issues, U.S. Steel. I know this is not a state issue, but the state's got to be playing such an important role in trying to keep them here. What are your thoughts on U.S. Steel?
So, as you probably know, I've been pushing and trying to keep it on the front pages. I met with Nippon a couple weeks ago in D.C. They were, optimistic. It was right before they met with the Commerce Secretary. Everything looked really good, and then last week it didn't look so good. Yeah. So, I'm unsure what's going to happen, but it's kind of. U.S. Steel doesn't have the money, right? We all know that. They don't have the money to come in and invest like we need that investment. They just don't have it. So what's going to happen? Are these jobs going to go to Arkansas? They're going to move to a non-union state. They're not going to invest here. I think we need this deal to happen. And if it's not Nippon, which I think they have doubled their offer. President Trump has done a phenomenal job of getting them to double their commitment. That's unbelievable. At some point with Nippon, because they've brought them this far, they're going to move their own headquarters from Texas to here. They're going to leave U.S. Steel headquarters here. They're going to invest billions and billions of dollars. At some point, do they have a board that they have to go answer to? This probably needs to be pretty wrapped up pretty quick if it's going to happen. All of these guys' jobs are hanging out there. My dad lost his job in the early 80s because he did specialty steel. He was a machinist and he did specialty steel. And when the steel industry went down, he lost everything and he never recovered. And we can't let that happen again. So that's what I've been fighting for. And, we just sent another letter this morning, 2 letters actually, 2 different people at the White House saying, please, but can we talk about this? You
raised an interesting point. Just the indirect economic benefit that we derive from U.S. Steel. Dan, do you guys? I mean, is there anything in your world that if U.S. Steel leaves, you're going to lose X potential business or relationships or whatever?
It's not in our direct supply chain, but I think when you look at the topic in general, right, this is a really key issue for our region is keeping businesses within the region. That's key for our growth specifically at Watt is, growing our organization and having the incentives to grow our business within the region. There are attractive packages and that's a key focus for us as we're benefiting the economy by having good jobs, from technician level jobs to engineering level jobs in a growing organization that supports U.S. energy infrastructure and the things we talked about, right? So how do companies really stay viable with these competing offers, which at the end of the day is you got to do what makes economic sense for the business as well, right?
You do. There are about 11,000 jobs downstream. It's a lot. And it's our heritage.
It's the Mon
like
Valley,
breaks
right?
my heart.
Yeah.
Because I always say we build America here.
Sure.
We
I
build
love it.
America,
Yeah.
right? And it would be a
Oh,
shame
yeah.
to lose U.S. Steel. It would be so terrible. It took how many years for us to come back doing something else, right? We're in tech, Carnegie Mellon. But when you look at, and I know you've traveled somewhat, when you look around, I mean, there's a Steeler bar everywhere. There's a Steeler bar in Rome.
Yeah, right.
You know, because they left. There were no jobs. Those guys left, and their wives, many were nurses, couldn't even get a job for nursing because they all went back to work, and there weren't. I remember it so well. It was just I remember crying watching those guys standing in a line, and I'm like, oh, that can't happen again. That can't.
Yeah. You know, and the flip side of that is rising tides raises all ships, right? And so if we can keep them here, and the investment, not only in U.S. Steel itself, but what it will mean to the community would be huge. And companies like Watt, I'm sure will find some benefit from keeping a company like that here.
I do think it would be helpful. Here I go again saying something they're probably going to cut out of my podcast, but
Never.
It would be helpful if our United States senators and all of our congressmen would step up. Okay, it would be helpful.
Yeah.
But they haven't. You know, they haven't said much at all.
Some have dipped their toe in the water, but nobody's jumped in. And
Correct.
It's really interesting.
The congressman from the North Hills area has been involved, but
Congressman DeLuzio.
correct. He has been active in the U.S. Steel, trying to make sure it stays here. But I do wonder where the rest of them are. Where are you guys? We need you.
Yeah.
You are in the national level. You definitely have more input and influence than I do, or any of us here on the state level. I wish they would be more involved. I wish they would make more of an effort.
Well, earlier I asked Danielle, if she had a magic wand, what would she wish for? And she was talking about, the ability to work with the government and how that can help grow her business and her company. So I would just pose the same question to you, right? You have your magic wand. What do you wish for right now?
I wish that we didn't have such a budget shortfall. I wish that we could, and this is very important. I mean, I wish that our grid was reliable, because that is going to affect the entire state. I just,
But those are two issues that I think are so critically important to the success of Pennsylvania moving forward. And it's something that, obviously you touch upon it in Harrisburg a lot, but we have a company here that's doing their share to try and get, people to not be so reliable upon the grid. And I think that's amazing.
I think it is too.
Yeah. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Thanks. Absolutely.
We
It's
love it.
our pleasure to be here, and, utilizing the natural resources we have and natural gas in this region, and enabling that resiliency and reliability. And you can do things like incorporate solar with Watt's technology,
Yes,
and incorporate energy storage. It really becomes a viable technology to give our grid the reliability that it needs to be able to meet the demands that are just rapidly and exponentially increasing in our region and across the country right now.
It's the next step.
Yeah,
in making
absolutely.
sure that we will be able to supply Pennsylvania with the energy that it needs.
Yeah.
It's good. We're glad you're here. Really, we're so glad you're here.
Thanks, Kim.
Well, and we're glad that both of you are here and able to join us today. So thank you so much. We love your company, Danielle. And as a lifelong Pittsburgher, I always tell everyone my favorite senator from Washington County is Senator Ward.
I am from Washington County, but I live in Westmoreland County.
But
you
you're
know
from,
that.
But you're from Washington
I'm from
County.
Washington County. All of my family, I always like to say, yep, don't come in there and mess with any of them, because there's like 120 little Italians that will just kick your butt that are my relatives. Are just running around there, just, waiting for the chance.
I love it. Okay. Hey, Danielle, if folks want to hear more and learn more about Watt Fuel Cell, where can they find that information?
Yeah, absolutely. You can check out our website. It's just wattfuelcell.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and check us out.
And Senator, well, we know where to find you.
You can find me easily. Everybody finds me. Of course, I have my own personal Facebook. I don't have a Senate Facebook, but
Do you really?
and it's
great.
busy. I run it. I
Well, how
won't let
many
anybody
grandkids
touch
do you
it.
have?
But you can reach me through Instagram and email
Okay.
at senatorward.com. How many grandkids? 8, between the ages of 6 and 11 months.
Oh, wow.
And I love them. I'm so blessed. I call them grand angels. And yesterday, I went and bought chicks, baby chicks. Yeah, I
You
got
don't mean
baby chicks.
chicks. You mean like a real chick.
Like 5, they're 5 days old, and
Yeah.
I think we're going to keep them. I'm going to go buy a chicken coop because my neighbors will be so happy if there's a rooster in there. But so I'm like, what am I going to have at my house that they're going to love? They all live local. I'm with them all the time, and I thought this is something different. So yesterday, can I just tell you my one story? I go to buy them chicks. I have to be there by 3. I get there at 20 to 3. The guy, because you can't find them anywhere.
Right.
I get my chicks. I get 6 little chicks. He gives me a box. I go to get to my house, and the wind had knocked down lines, and there was no power. I couldn't even get into my garage. The fire truck let me get into my driveway. So I'm like, what am I going to do with these chicks? They're babies. They have to have light. They have to have food. They have to have water. So I took them to my Senate office, and that's where they are still this morning because we didn't get our power back till last night. I keep getting reports from my folks in the district office saying, okay, they're doing great. They're taking a nap now.
Oh my God, that's so cute. I love it.
Well, Kim, we have to get you a water
I was just-
system, and then you
Yes.
would have had
I'll
power.
do it. I'll do it.
How perfect is that?
Perfect. A water home system.
I love that.
All right, call me.
All right, sounds
right.
good. Great.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Insight and Influence. To learn more about CNG strategies and to access previous editions, visit our website at cgstrategiespa.com.